So let's go on to the most fun topic of the day. Okay. I mean, everybody, has been talking about it, at home. They've been talking about their dining room table. They've been talking about it in bars. I don't go to bars anymore, but they talk about it there, I'm sure. So in the 2.5 months since the November election, Maryland politicians have been assessing what the impact of the second coming of Donald Trump as president of the United States will have not only the state of Maryland, but locally here in Montgomery County. There have been some conciliatory statements from some, like Governor Moore, who, is very, very adroit and says, we'll work with the administration, but we do have reservations. And there have been some defiant statements from some, like State Senator Cheryl Kagan, who are more strident in their doom about and gloom about what will happen to the state. So, Mike, the doomcasters are predicting dire things from the Trump administration as to the impact on federal employment, the Maryland budget, and immigration. What's your assessment?
At least from what he's put out in his initial executive orders, he's trying to poke a stick at everything he can poke a stick at. That being said, and I count myself among these, I still struggle to see how the numbers for the election played out the way that they did. But there's a reality that we need to look at, which is clearly there's a majority of our population, both popularly and even more in the state of Maryland and in Montgomery County, who were supportive of him as voting for him for president. And so there's clearly something that we as a more predominantly Democratic state and Democratic county are not hearing and are not capturing. And I think there needs to be a way to step back and better understand that. And I think right now, both sides still seem to be whoever shouts loudest or rightest is the way to proceed. And I don't think that's a path forward for us as a society and as a community. And so I think that I think there will be real challenges. I think that the Trump administration will go after many programs that are specific to this region. And I think that's by design. That being said, I think we're going to need to we have to come up with more than just being on the other side and saying that's wrong and kind of doubling down and just yelling loudly, and come up with some real strategies that are very different and much more nuanced than we've done in the past in order to be able to advance the cause of our community.
Well, I think there are obviously a couple of big fears, but the biggest fear is probably on the state of federal employment here in Montgomery County and in particular, and in the state of Maryland, the impact that will have on future budgets. As we discussed in our first topic, there's a $3 billion budget. We really need to sustain that federal employment. But the big topic, of course, is immigration. And the General Assembly as well as the county has positioned itself as not being cooperative on immigration. And Mark, for nearly 2 decades, Montgomery County has presented itself as a sanctuary county. Yet the other day, County Executive Mark Elrich stated in an interview with Montgomery Community Media that his policy was not to interfere with immigration officials performing their job.
We are not putting our police or our people between ICE agents and the people they're coming for. It wouldn't work. Everybody would be arrested immediately, and they would go ahead and do what they were going to do anyway. I don't, it's like you don't pick a fight with somebody you can't beat up. And we certainly can't do that. So I'm going to do whatever we can do. We're collectively can do whatever we can do to keep people safe. That's what we're going to try to do. But you will not find us standing between them and the people that if they actually try to take people. That's not something we can do.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that's consistent with where he's been before, which is sort of essentially non-cooperation. So it's, interfering would put the county in a more, to use the favorite phrase, problematic position. And so I think what I heard him say was that he's going to let not that he has a real choice, but he's going to let federal law enforcement do what they're going to do. What I didn't hear was that he was prepared to cooperate. So one of the issues that comes up is when there's somebody that ICE is looking for that is in jail already and about to be released, the level of cooperation that's going to take place, or the level of cooperation that, say, the police department can engage in. In some jurisdictions, they get more involved. They reach agreements with ICE. Montgomery County has chosen not to do that. So I did not see much of a change there. I think he just is slightly nuanced to be slightly less confrontational, sort of emphasizing a different aspect, a different side to the position that Montgomery County has taken out in the past.
Well, I mean, even though it may appear to be a nuanced statement from the county executive, it is a different statement.
Right.
It's not a defiant statement as we've seen in the past. And Mike, do you sense that there's going to be a change?
I don't think there's much of a change. I don't think he's necessarily poking the bear in it yet, but I don't think there's any effort there to cooperate either. And I don't know that necessarily should be. I think we're trying to make a statement with immigration. That played well in the election. We're trying to make it sound as though everyone who's an immigrant is a criminal. And unfortunately but I get that plays into the narrative. And so the reality is that we're going to have to figure out how to make this work, because they are a strong part of our population, and they're a strong part of our economy. And so, especially if you're going to try to get rid of a number of federal workers for this to be able to put in political positions, it's going to have a significant impact and really have a dramatic impact on our broader economy.
Well, Mike, I mean, the one pushback I would say is that at least there have been statements that they're going to concentrate on those who are lawbreakers in the United States, not just from crossing the border, but have actually committed crimes in the United States that have harmed people, and that's going to be the first
Maybe.
target.
I mean, I'll be curious to see, and at this point, they're also going after the million people that were brought in here with temporary status from the Biden administration. It's not clear necessarily where they're going, because they're just kind of talking about all of the different things that relate to immigration. And so it'll be very interesting to see what actually happens versus what the talk is. Any
final thoughts, Mark?
Well, I think that we're in a more polarized environment. The president has moved very quickly. If anything, he's, I think, learned from his experience the first go around, and has chosen to kind of go as fast as he possibly can, because he recognized that 4 years is a very short period in the grand scheme of things.